Travis Wayne Goodsell. Just got back from grocery shopping all day. The joys of taking public transit. And I'm still waiting for fulfillment. And we'll do the video regardless of whether it happens or not for the church news video time period, which is in another couple hours. So stay tuned, you 2 or 3 people who are watching, because today is the perfect day yet again. And it's frustrating for me having the gifts of prophecy and revelation, as well as seership, which is visions and dreams, and also translation. And when it comes to trying to teach you guys how to do it yourself, it kind of helps if the powers that be fulfill the prophecies that they themselves set up. As my camera freezes. God. We were doing so well that a whole week had gone by before the last freezing. Apparently, I found out that there's like a whole bunch of cyber terrorists living right here in Utah. Mormon cyber terrorists right here in Utah. Just the other week, the local news was saying that there was a group of them who got nabbed, and there's still more out there. Dear God, Mormons, what the hell? I mean, seriously. I mean, it's one thing to try to talk to other people about the church and the bad examples of other Mormons makes it difficult for me. But when you have the prophets of the church also setting the bad example for the church, I just throw up my hands and go, oh my God, oh my God. I mean, Renlund the other day for the church news, dear God, what an abomination he is. The abuse that he spewed on women, and there are mostly women in the audience who were frothing at the mouth going, yeah! Women are evil! Ban all women! You do know you're a woman? No, not me, other women! What? What? So I wrote down in my little quick reference book for video purposes for YouTube, for the purpose of helping you understand the learning of the Jews of Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon. Every single one of these is an accusation that Joseph Smith did this in 1838. And there's a problem that is blatantly obvious, because it's accusing Joseph Smith of completely altering everything of his religion, turning it from Jewish into Christian. That's kind of the big one. Removing the keystone, the Book of Mormon, as Jewish and replacing it with Christian. And all exfo nevermos know very well the Book of Mormon as Christian falls. Like the keystone being removed. And so there's several things involved in that, but because Joseph Smith was freed from Liberty Jail and came back to run the church, he was unaware of the majority of those accusations, other than the writing of his Joseph Smith history of the visionary accounts, which, after he died, was again tampered with and accused to be Christian, even though he published it in 1842 in the Times and Seasons with the original information, not the tampered information we currently have, and the church continues to perpetuate, refusing to make the corrections that Joseph Smith originally had. As they've published the Joseph Smith papers, and it says right there on the front of the homepage of the website, the authoritative source for all things Joseph Smith. And so it's pretty abominable for this church to be denialist about Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon and the learning of the Jews when they're blatantly, obviously telling us this. And so there's several of these in here that are claiming Joseph Smith had done these things when he hadn't, as a false accusation, but because he didn't change them and continued the pre-practice when he returned, there's what was an attempt to rewrite Joseph Smith's religion, rewrite the history. And that involves another revisionist error that was done to Joseph Smith. But there was also an anachronism that was performed on Joseph Smith, placing some of these events into 1838 when they did not happen in 1838. For example, section 119. Joseph Smith didn't write that because it goes contrary to the Book of Mormon on priestcraft. No priestcraft. So what the hell is section 119 saying that the Lord's now ordering priestcraft? What the hell are we doing overthrowing the government to build Zion? See, these are obviously not by Joseph. And so what was done was Willard Richards and certain others helping him went and rewrote church history, making editings and additions and such. And in so doing, they pulled an anachronism, claiming that their starting of section 119, which was Brigham's practice with his branch off of Joseph Smith, claiming that it was Joseph's in 1838. That is an anachronism. An anachronism is when you place anything or anyone in the wrong chronology. Most of the time it's in the past. Not too many times you see that done for a future thing. It's a little bit difficult. Involves some prophecy. You know, like the death threats that I received that didn't happen. Yeah, they were placing assassination attempts in the future in the wrong chronology. Ray Montgomery, you bastard. Dear God. And so, yeah, he's gone into hiding in silence ever since then. I mean, dear God. What is wrong with you Mormons? Are you really that ashamed of the gospel of the Jews? Because yes, Christianity did it too. And that's what we're talking about. Because this is a Jasmine comment reply video. I promised Jasmine I'd do it. She linked me to a YouTube channel in which it was a bot. And bots are getting better now with the voice sounding more human-like. In the beginning, back in 2017, bot voices were blatantly obvious. They were mechanical, they were broken up, and they couldn't get sentence structure correct. And so, yeah, it was obvious that it was a bot voice back in those days. But currently, last couple of years, they've improved the technology so that it sounds more realistic. And so they are concerned with the coming election about deep fake videos that sound human and even look human. And YouTube even changed to force us to say, no, I am not using a deep fake video. I mean, seriously. Just have it automatically no. And if it is supposed to be yes, then we click yes. Otherwise, leave me alone. Every single video I do is always going to be no, and they're forcing me to put no, or they're going to ban my video. God, the hatred, stupidity of YouTube. What the hell? And they don't even let me do it like with children. Is your video for children? Obviously no! But they allowed me at least to make it no permanently. So that when it is a video for kids, which never will be, I would then override the one video and put yes. Oh dear God. Such incompetence running our nation. In government, in business, in religion, in education. Dear God. I mean, this is what it's like not to have the Spirit, Mormons. You sure you want that? Are you sure you don't want to be smart like Jasmine? So, her question that Jasmine asked is, what is the reason why the Jews don't worship the biblical Jesus? And so then she found the YouTube video and linked me to it, which is why I'm not going to, well, did I? I'm not, I don't think I think I just deleted it, because I don't want other people to flood that video. That's one thing I found out back in 2017, is when somebody purposely tried to gaslight me on my own video, where I'm the expert of. I didn't know that I could hold all comments for review, and so I was also responding to their comments directly in a chain link. And I was able to eventually confound them, but there were the occasional people who started to get violent and denialist, and I had to ban them from my channel. But Mormons have to study. You can't use feelings for truth. And anachronism is one of the main things. And this is where the church sabotages you by calling the Book of Mormon Christian. Expo Nevermos, for just one example, have found the passage where there are cows in the promised land of ancient America. That's an anachronism. There were no cows in ancient America. And so if you do not know the learning of the Jews, which is prophecy and revelation, which requires the powers that be to fulfill it, we're running out of time. Then you begin to understand what it's talking about. Because it's talking about right now. And yes, there are cows in America finally. Amazing. Let's find out when cows first came to America. Let's see if Google has the answer for us. When did cows first come to America? We come into America, 1493. During his second expedition in 1493, Columbus sailed with 3. Brought the first cattle to the Caribbean, where they were used as farm animals and a source of food. So still not on the mainland. When on the mainland? Seriously? You're still going to put 1493? It's an island. It's not the mainland. Columbus didn't discover America. He discovered the Caribbean. Southwest Asia had cows in the 9th millennium BC. So, there. Wait a minute. Here we go. History of dairy cow breeds. The Jersey. First called elderly cattle. Jerseys are one of the oldest breeds of cattle, having been brought to England in the 1740s and the United States. So it looks like 300 years later, 200 years later. And so yeah, cows in the Book of Mormon, when considered as Christian, is an anachronism and is wrong. And so any Mormon who is praying to find out if there were cows in ancient America, and you get the warm and fuzzy feeling in your boobs that yes, it feels good to you, you're wrong. That's why you don't use feelings. You're being manipulated by the prophets because they're lying to you. Blatantly obvious that they're lying to you, that they're false prophets. And thus you can understand why I was furious with Renlund the other day. And so I've tried to help you out with other anachronisms in the Book of Mormon that you may not readily know. One of which has to do with why the Jews don't worship the biblical Jesus. Because of an anachronism. But also the Sabbath day. The Sabbath day was factually created in the chronology of the Babylonians after 600 BCE. not before. When did Lehi leave Jerusalem? If you're going to call it literal history? Yeah. Before the creation of the Babylonian calendar, with the 7th day of the week being the number 7, which the Babylonians were freaked out and paranoid over. And so they ordered that no one shall work on the 7th day, which became Saturday. So the Jews, being taken captive into Babylon by Babylon, got assimilated. And that's why they, to this day, celebrate Sabbath on Saturday. Kind of important to know your chronological historical order of things, so that you don't get deceived by false prophets and false preachers from other Christian religions. And so yes, Jesus Christ, the Christian Christ, created, not during the Roman period time, Roman Emperor Constantine in 325 CE. Notice I didn't put AD. Jesus was finally created. Not the name, the Christ figure. And so with the revisionist history of the gospel stories, that became the placement of their Christian Christ, out of chronological time frame. Thus, Christians are wrong. When you read the Gospels and you see the name Jesus, you cannot put the wrong religious deity in that position, because that religion of Christianity wasn't created until at least 100 years after the writing of the particular document. And so yes, white supremacist Christian nationalists love to be denialists and revisionists and supersessionists, because they're evil. And so yes, the Jews, put in their proper chronological order, were well before the creation of Christianity. They had their religion well before Christianity. But the Jews who wrote during the Roman period time, plus or minus, what we call the 0 year, which there's no such thing. It's 1 BC and then 1 AD, which technically is 1 BCE and 1 CE. Okay. So in the before 1300 BCE, actually before 1400 BCE, on the little are on the mountain there in Canaan, there was a little hamlet of people who named it Salem. And I say it was before 1400 BCE. These are the first Jews because of the actual history. They had a religion. It was Egyptian because the land of Canaan belonged to Egypt. Did not belong to Assyria. Did not belong to the Hittites. Because under the reign of that Pharaoh during that time, Thutmose IV, he did what is now called Armageddon 1, from which John the Revelator got Armageddon from. John the Revelator is a nom de plume of the original Jewish author. He's talking about the future, and everybody is well aware of that one. I don't think people are going to be confused into thinking of placing it in the Roman period time. Even though he does talk to the churches in Turkey. But nonetheless, it wasn't called Turkey back then. Did you catch that anachronism? That's important. When you're doing history, when you're explaining history, when you're protesting, it's kind of important that you know history, the accurate history, not the misinformation you're getting from TikTok. The Young Turks, Anna Kasparian, had the title saying that Mitt Romney was responsible for banning TikTok. And I thought, oh, great, I've got a video I can do for you guys about how the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints banned TikTok. And then I'm listening to Mitt Romney in their news clip, and I'm going, ugh. Anna, she has become so abominable to appeal to her Islamic terrorist viewers. She's a denialist of October 7th. She's a denialist of the creation of the Jews on the little hamlet called Salem. She's a denialist of the creation of Christianity, and thus a denialist of the branch off of Christianity called Islam. And so every news article she does talking about the war against the Jews in Israel and the protests against Jews around the world, and they're already terrorists. They've stopped commencement for at least the Columbia School, if not others already. This is an aggressive terrorist attack. It is not a protest. They are not allowing people to peaceably assemble for commencement. That's a violation of the First Amendment. They are taking away the rights of other people. They are not in the right. They are not in a just cause. And hearing them talk about what they're doing it all for, it's clear they're not justified. They are lying to commit terrorism. And so all of this is being used against humanity, not just Christianity against humanity, but Islam against humanity, and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints against humanity. We are in desperate need of the fall of the great and abominable church and all of the Christian branch-offs. So perfect today. So perfect. And so that's why the Jews do not accept Jesus. And she puts the one comment by the guy in the video. In Judaism, Jesus is believed to have been the most influential and damaging false prophet according to traditional Jewish belief. It is Christians who threaten the Jews to accept that Jesus was real and that their gospel stories are literal history. The Jews caved, but the Jews refused to have him as their Christ. And so for the Jews, of the Jewish author who wrote the Jewish Exodus and Deuteronomy, which is the Jewish law, where it says, "Thou shalt have no other Christ before me." Christ and God is synonymous in the Egyptian Jewish understanding. And that's why nobody understands why the people in North Korea consider Kim Jong-un a god. He's the king. Real simple, but when you throw in Christianity, everything gets screwed up and everybody no longer bathes and the clothes start sticking to your skin. And then you burn the woman you had an affair with, calling her a witch only because your wife caught you with her. The Spanish Inquisition. And all the little boy rape by the priests who aren't allowed to get married. And nobody sees this as a false religion. All the abuse done to Islamic women, and nobody sees this as a false religion. All the abuses and lies of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and nobody sees this as a false religion. Mormons don't see this as the great and abominable church as talked about in the Book of Mormon, which is a prophecy. Mormons deny the power of prophecy and revelation of the Book of Mormon because they deny that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the exact same pattern match for the great and abominable church. And so Mormons secretly believe, as Bruce R. McConkie did, that it's the Catholic Church. But everything's the same except for the nature and character of Jesus. How is that the only thing that's abominable? Not the replacement of the Jews, huh? God. And so, yeah, you need to then know what is the concept of the Christ of the Jews. And so what John is talking about in Revelation concerning Armageddon is using the actual historical event to talk about the future Christ that the Jews call Messiah ben David. And his name, as Isaiah tells us, is Emmanuel. And because they're Egyptian Jews, and that needs to be understood because there's anachronisms that can be performed in error on this. Egypt is a land. Judah is a land. The people on the land of Egypt were called Egyptians. The people on the land of Judah were called Jews. Thus, the Book of Mormon, talking about Jews pre-Babylonian captivity, are Egyptians living in the province of Judah. Except that Judah wasn't Judah until but that's higher level learning for you. But understand, anachronisms are a warning signal for you to avoid. Okay? And so, yes, the house of Israel did not exist. There's symbolism going on. They're taking the historical information but rewriting it in the Roman period time for the latter days. Does that make sense, Jasmine? Does that clear things up? And so the Jewish Christ is a human being, a baby. Seed, egg, baby. Real simple. There's nothing supernatural about anything of the Jews. And so if you're gonna ask, anybody's gonna ask, well, what about Elohim as singular? Well, when did it first begin? Put things in the proper chronological time frame. Yes, the Dead Sea Scrolls have been found. They were pre-Christianity. But there's something missing. Anybody know what's missing? Vowel points. The biblical Hebrew text wasn't created until 800 to 1000 CE. Those Jewish Masoretes, as they were called, worked on reconstructing and fixing the translation to just one and only one, with a visionary alphabetical language. Oops, they violated the law. And so how many years, centuries away from Constantine? And so Elohim as a plural being called singular. What was the nature of and character of Jesus again with the first creed of Christianity? The creation of Christianity. The creation of Jesus. Trinity. 3, plural, in 1. So the difference with the Jews doing this to the plural word Elohim to make it singular, they kept the spelling plural. But the branch off called Islam, their God is called Allah. That's the singular of the Canaanite El. And it's translated into English as we, the plural pronoun. That is Trinity. Though it's unclear as to how many of the we there are. They never say. Okay? And so, yeah, I didn't have to watch the video long until I realized that this was a purposeful misinformation video that is deceiving people who watch and believe it. Not just because it's a bot voice, which could be an AI, because those are now out. And I've heard that this is what AI is doing. It's revising history. And so it wouldn't surprise me at all as if somebody did a chat GPT video on YouTube, which he should have checked. Yes, this is a deepfake AI video. It is not meant to be taken as literal. It's for entertainment purposes only. But I think they got away with it, trying to fool YouTube and sneak stuff by. Because in talking about the Jews, they considered all of the different chronological Jewish time frames as one. Again, pulling an anachronism. So, yeah, I do not like AI. It is not programmed right. Go back to the word processor. Start over again. Go back to the chess game. Revise the program. And I'll give you a big tip. Remove all psychological programming from it. That's the big cause of the errors. You cannot put in programming of behavioral conditioning. You will destroy the human race. And that's why the chat GPT first was telling people to murder other people and commit suicide, which hit the news big time on that one. So, yeah, dear God. And so, yeah, I didn't need to listen to the whole thing and point out every single error in it, because I caught it right at the beginning. It's wrong. And so, like a seed that's corrupt, once you know the seed is corrupt, you don't need to debate the branches, Exfo Nevermos. As much as you can have fun teasing Mormons on them. But nonetheless, it's not the learning of the Jews. It's automatically wrong. Everything they say, automatically wrong. Debate's over with. Time for Mormons to go home and cry and not understand why they're not getting angry at the prophets and wanting to get angry at me. You were the one that was stupid and used feelings to establish truth. Oh my hell. I mean, seriously, women. A guy comes to you and says, I got you pregnant. You're pregnant now. I feel it deep in my boobs. You're pregnant. Do you believe him? You never seen him before. You just met. That's his pickup line. You're gonna believe him, are you? That's what Mormons do. I have seen this denialism used as jokes back as a kid by the white supremacist peers, purposely lying to see how many people they can trick, to spread it around. And yeah, I got caught up in it too. And thus why I don't like being caught up in it. And so thus I became an anthropologist of the ancient Middle East, who learned Socratic methodology to use in the incorporation of theory development, to run the tests, and get 3 confirmations to establish facts. You know, like all the scriptures of the Jews tell you to do. The Word is likened unto a seed, the science of agronomy. Ta-da! So, alrighty, 4 o'clock. Not gonna follow through. I don't want to do the video. It's a real cool thing. I've tied it to scriptures, just like I've done. Oh God! Mormons need action. They are not going to believe me unless action.